Undisputed.
Welcome to Undisputed. We're live from Los Angeles. I'm Joy Taylor, here with Skip Bayless, and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
You're shook up because you had a big win last night, right?
I did.
Yeah, Joe,
go, Joy.
We had us a big old win.
Congratulations.
We had us a big old win.
It's like
You're
casual...
back in the hunt, man.
We are. It's casual Tuesday or something?
Yeah, you know, I'm dressed like Tom Brady looked last night. Old ass. You know talking about Joy.
That's a
Why would
Mr.
you
Rogers
dress
swag. I
old?
like it.
Huh? I wanted to feel like Tom Brady. I want to look like Tom
Really?
looked last night.
So you
saw
think
it.
he's done?
Whoa, Skip, that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Joe, how are you today?
I'm great.
Did you stay up and watch the game in its entirety?
Yes,
I hope so.
It was
I
great.
did.
It was a great game.
It was a great game.
I put my tree up last night. Joe, you see my tree on Instagram?
It was a nice
Go take a
tree.
look at
Do
my
you like post your whole life on Instagram?
Just the tree. The tree
Look
of the
at
dog.
me.
Just
I
the tree of the
posted
dog.
my tree.
Yeah, we really have created a monster. Because not only does he know how to use Instagram now, he knows how to use Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know what that is.
it was
Exactly. You
How are
don't
you,
know what
Shannon?
it is.
all the
Yeah.
time.
You
Yes.
don't need to know.
Yeah.
I'll fill you in on it later.
I let my TV speak for itself.
Ooh. I wonder what it said about that pocket square.
I like it. It's flashy.
like
It's got a little Miami flair.
You ain't
Let's
flashing.
get to
Got
Tom
on
Brady.
a gray old man
We'll
sweater.
get to Tom Brady's horrible game in a moment, but we'll start with my Dolphins. Jay Cutlers had one of his best games of his season to lead Miami to a stunning 27-20 win over the Patriots. Cutler finished with 3 touchdown passes, 263 passing yards. It was his first win against the Patriots in 4 tries. Let's take a listen to Cutler after the game.
Winning's always. I mean, that's what keeps you in this game. That locker room after a win, there's nothing right like it. Playing right home after a win, it's hard to beat it. You got to be careful with a team like that. Like you said, I think the Super Bowl last year is an indication of what they're capable of. And they made it a one-possession game in this one. So, you got to beat these guys to the final whistle.
Speaking of casual Tuesday,
And you talking about the way I'm dressed?
well, he's letting their hair out. He's got a
Vanderbilt. That's how they
chest hair
dress
out.
at Vanderbilt. Huh?
That's not true.
Shannon, you've been highly critical of Jay in the past. So did last night change your opinion?
Absolutely not. If anything,
Shocking.
If anything, it makes you more disappointed because last night he showed you a glimpse of what he could have been. And I'm not saying, because Tom Brady, none of the greats have ever throws for 260 plus yards and 3 touchdowns with no pick every single Sunday. That's not what I'm saying. But we've seen far too many of these games and far too many of the other games where it's a fumble or a costly turnover that ends up costing his team the game. Skip, he showed you what he can do. Arm talent, second to none. You see the play that came in, they had him dead to right. He spins out, rolls to his left, hit Drake, boom. He drops a dime to the guy. He ended up dropping the ball in the fourth quarter. Could have nailed the door shut.
Yep.
So we know what Jay Cutler can do. And because he hasn't fulfilled the promise, Skip, it's hard for me to believe that there's an offensive coordinator or head coach that's come into contact with Jay Cutler since he's been in the NFL says Jay Cutler has maximized his ability.
Yep.
It's hard for me to believe that you'll find one coach that will say that. And people are like, well, what do you mean? Jay Cutler should have been a multiple time Pro Bowl player. He should have taken his teams to more than one playoff appearance. He should have done that, Skip. That's how talented he is. And it's so frustrating for you to see what he's capable of last night or something close to that on a regular routine basis, but far too many times it's the pick, the fumble, the apathetical, the blasé-faire attitude. You're like, bruh, I believe there's one person that believes Jay Cutler maximized his ability, and that's Jay Cutler. Because at the end of the day, Skip, he's made $122 million. So no matter what I think or others think, he taps that computer like, oh, shit, I'm good then. Skip, you saw glimpses of what he could have been, and it's disappointing that he didn't meet those expectations. I'm a firm believer in this, and my grandfather used to say, boy, time is the one thing that you can never recapture. And unfortunately, sometimes it's when time is up that we realize what we have left behind. And I think Jay Cutler, as he nears the end, now somebody's going to see this game last night, Joy. Now the Dolphins gave him $10 million. Somebody about to offer him 12, 13 for next year. I'm just saying, I'm just putting that out there right now.
Could be right.
I'm just putting that out right now. But I do not believe this does not change. If anything, it makes me more upset. It makes me more frustrated because I know what Jay Cutler could have been, and I don't think he met those expectations.
I had no idea where you were going to go with this off the top of the show. And I liked a lot of your points, and I agree with a lot of your points. where we part ways is at your bottom line versus my bottom line about this player who is as polarizing a quarterback as I have ever watched and ever covered and ever talked about on television. And again, last night was tough on me because you know how much I love Tom Brady, but I have always liked Jay Cutler. Not loved, just liked. And again, he did go to my school, Vanderbilt, and I did go way out on really onto the ledge is where I went out. This is back in my days on cold pizza. And I said, this kid at Vanderbilt is going to be a franchise quarterback. And they howled at me. Vanderbilt quarterback is first, he's going to be a first-round pick. Watch. And guess who picked him? A guy you really respect, a guy we had on the show a couple of weeks back, Mike Shanahan. Does he not have some offensive genius about him?
Absolutely.
He does.
Yes.
And he traded up in the first round in the 06 draft to take Jay Cutler with the 11th pick, one pick after our Matt Leinart here at Fox.
Yes.
Obviously the USC Heisman Trophy winner. One pick after. Vince Young went at the top. I think he's the third overall pick. Yep. And if you look back at that draft, Jay came out the best quarterback in the draft. Kellen Clemens is still afloat. He was a second-round pick. He's still Phillip Rivers' backup in San Diego. But if you look at that draft, and I don't know if it's saying that much, Jay ended up having the best, quote-unquote, career. So here's the problem with Jay Cutler. For long stretches of his career, he has been a pretty good starting franchise quarterback. Occasionally a very good one. But to your point, the occasional bad, has been so spectacularly bad that it obliterates the memories of all the good in most fans' minds, right?
Yes.
So most people would look at Jay Cutler as when they see the bad, it's all-time bad body language, the shrugging shoulders, the hanging head, the I don't give a you-know-what attitude.
Yes.
And it cancels out all the good that he does accomplish sort of quietly because everybody focuses on Jay Cutler as the cringing symbol of a loser quarterback, right? It's what the internet thinks of, oh, that's a loser, is Jay Cutler. So I think most fans and you view him in the big picture as a pathetic bust of a quarterback.
No, I don't think he's a bust, but I've seen more of the other games than the games you saw last night. There's no way in your mind, Skip Bayless, you're going to tell me you've seen Jay Cutler play more like he played last night as opposed to the flip side.
Okay, let's talk about that. So I'm never saying that he's Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers because obviously he's not.
Right.
He can't even have glimpses of those guys. But he has been somewhere in the middle of starting quarterbacks. And I remind you, it's hard to find one of those guys.
Yes.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that guy. I've never liked him. I like Jay Cutler more than I like Ryan Tannehill. Now, is that, 6 of one, half dozen of the other?
Right.
But still, Jay Cutler is a decent starting quarterback, and those don't grow on trees. But let's look at what Jay Cutler has done. Monday Night Football is the solo stage in what I think is the greatest sport in America, right?
Yes.
So what has Jay Cutler done on Monday night? A lot of pressure on Monday night, right? You're in the spotlight. You're often head-to-head against a really good quarterback who's perceived to be far better than you are. Jay Cutler is now 12-7 on Monday night. That means 19 times he's played on Monday Night Football. I threw that at you yesterday. You said there's no way he's played that many times going into last night.
You know why he plays that many? Because everybody expects that this is going to be the years of the Bears.
You could be right. But now, Jay Cutler, after last night, has on Monday Night Football 32 touchdown passes to only 13 interceptions. Well, if I told you, you'd say that's pretty good, right?
Pretty good.
Head-to-head on Monday Night Football, Jay Cutler has beaten, now, Tom Brady last night. He beat Aaron Rodgers. He beat Brett Favre. He beat Michael Vick. He beat Phillip Rivers. On Sunday Night Football, which is still a pretty big stage, he twice beat your man Big Ben Roethlisberger, once in Pittsburgh and once away from Pittsburgh, once at home. It was in Chicago, I think. And if you remember Colin Kaepernick coming off the Super Bowl season followed by the narrow playoff loss at Seattle in the NFC Championship game.
Right.
After that next season, they opened Levi's Stadium. And Kaepernick and San Francisco went to Dallas and just crushed Tony Romo and company in what was going to be a big year for Dallas when they went 12-4. They crushed him in the opener. They went home for the opening of their stadium. And on Sunday Night Football, Jay Cutler threw 4 touchdown passes to no interceptions and shocked the San Francisco 49ers led by Colin Kaepernick. Well, that's another quote-unquote signature win on a big night.
Here's the thing, though, Skip, is that you point to individual game performances. You play more games on Sunday than you do Monday. When you factor in his career record, is he above or below 500?
He's 74 and 76. So now that's a lot of starts to get in the National Football League.
But now we say 500 is even keel, 76. So if you're 2 games below, that means what?
Okay, but how many teams are still looking for a quarterback who could even consider going 500 for that team? It's just hard to find him, which is why he's such a polarizing lightning rod, because is he terrible? No, he's not terrible. Is he great? No, he's not great.
Jay Cutler is what we call, he plays just enough to get coaches fired and himself cut or traded. That's what Jay Cutler is. And everybody keeps saying, well, Shannon, look at all the head coaches he had. Look at all the offensive coordinators. You know why? Because he's gotten them fired. Because everybody keeps saying, you're not maximizing Jay Cutler's potential. And everybody comes in, I can fix him. I can get Jay to play at this high level. Cost Mike Shanahan, cost Lovie Smith, cost Tressman. He cost a lot of people their jobs.
Yet, you have to give him some break for having 9 offensive coordinators in 12 seasons.
Why?
That's hard. Well, you can say it's partially because he got the head coach fired. It's also partially because he was in wrong places at wrong times, where there was just upheaval at the top of the organization, or the team wasn't very good around him.
Everybody, Skip, they went and got Jay Cutler, and they tried to build around him. Denver, they tried to build around him. Okay, Josh McDaniel comes in. They didn't hit it off. They trade him. Chicago tried to build around him. Everybody tries to build around him. Okay, if they're building around you, how is it their fault? Look at, they went and got Brandon Marshall. You had Greg Olsen. You had Martellus Bennett. You had Matt Forte.
But how many NFL franchises have a quarterback they would even consider building around? That's the problem. These don't grow on trees. It's hard to find one of these
guys. And you should be even more out, because there was a guy that the team was willing to build around, and they still couldn't get it done with it.
Okay, but you're coming down harder on him because he had 1 playoff appearance in 12 seasons. He beat Seattle in the first round, and then he had a grade, what do you call it? 1 is the top grade. Grade 1.
MCL.
MCL?
Yeah,
or
I think it was MCL.
Knee sprain.
Yes.
And it kept him out of the second half. He tried to go for a series and thought he couldn't go, and he winds up on the bicycle, so he's that cringing symbol of a loser on the bicycle against Aaron Rodgers in a home championship game at Soldier Field to get to the Super Bowl, right?
Took that show on the road. You see, he marched through Atlanta.
Yeah.
Marched through Atlanta like Sherman did.
He didn't exactly march through Soldier Field that day, because he almost lost to Caleb Haney in the second half, and he was terrible. And he almost threw a pick 6. Remember that, to Urlacher?
I almost went to the military, but my brother talked me out of it. I went to Savannah State instead. Here's the thing, though, Skip Bayless. You keep saying is that how many quarterbacks, this should make you even more upset than Skip. Here is a guy. You believe that Jay Cutler should have been a multiple-time Pro Bowl player. You believe that
he did make 1. Made 1.
Multiple, yes. So, in other words, you're saying he's good making the playoffs just 1 time. If he's as talented, if he's as good as you say he is, that's
one other year under Lovie where they went 10-6 and did not make the playoffs, and it was a decent year. It was decent.
Hold on, didn't Matt Castle go 11-5 with the Pats? And you say, well, they didn't make the playoffs. Okay, then. So that's the thing I love about playoffs, Joy. It's kind of like being pregnant. Either you are or you're not. You either in the playoffs or you're not. You're either pregnant or you're not. So Jay Cutler went to the playoffs 1 time. What about the other time, Skip? Now, he had 12 other chances to get to the playoffs, so what happened then?
He either had too many bad games or they had a bad football team around him.
Skip, think about what they had. They had a top 5 defense for about 6 or 7 years while Jay Cutler was in Chicago. And his defense was like 1 or 2 in scoring defense. And what would always happen, Skip, at the end of the day, instead of him coming in on the white horse to rescue or save the day, he came in on a zebra and ruined the day. What happened, Skip? Look at Urlacher. Look at Briggs. All the Peanut Tillman. All that Pro Bowl talent on the defensive side of football. Tommy Harris. gone Alex, gone Wally, Agunlier.
Yep.
All those guys, all that talent. They give him Brandon Marshall. They give him Martellus Bennett. They give him Greg Olsen. They give him Matt Forte. They get offensive linemen. Skip, you keep telling me look what he had in Denver. Look what he had in Chicago. He had talent all around him. They can't say he was devoid of talent.
Is he a great leader? No.
No.
Nope, he's not. Does he really, really care about winning championships? No, I don't think so. Does he have the capability on any given night of beating Tom Brady? Yep, he does. Or Aaron Rodgers, or Michael Vick, or Brett Favre? Yep. I can keep going down the line.
And you know what, Skip? And all the head coaches that's been fired at the hands of Jay Cutler and all the offensive coordinators, that's what makes them so upset. Because he can beat Tom Brady on a given night. Because he can beat Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and Ben Roethlisberger and Michael Vick and Colin Kaepernick at his height. That's what's so disappointing.
So Jay Cutler in his career has now thrown 226 touchdown passes, which ranks 30th all time, which is pretty good. There have been a lot of quarterbacks come and go. He's 30th all time, and he's ahead of Kurt Warner in touchdown passes, Joe Namath and Troy Aikman and Terry Bradshaw. He's ahead of those guys in touchdown passes because he has supreme arm talent. I also think he has a high football IQ. You have compared him, I can't remember if it's you or Rob Parker, but compared him to Jeff George. Jeff George was rock-headed to me. He just saw and fired. You know, like, I see a glimpse of color that's my jersey color, I'm going to fire it in that direction. Cutler has a high IQ. Ask any of the coaches who have coached him. He can chalkboard it.
Even more reason I'm upset. Because he went to Vanderbilt. He has IQ. He has legs. He can run. He's very athletic. Supreme arm talent. Can throw the ball 70, 80 yards. Now, what has that gotten me, Skip? It's gotten me a guy that's under 500 for a lifetime record. It's gotten me a guy that's been to the playoff one time. How can I excuse that?
He is a rambling gambler. He was from the start. And he can run with the ball. I know Gruden criticized him last night. He had one play in which he looked like he could have run for the first down.
He could run for the first down. He threw it, yes.
All right. But he's an older quarterback, and I think he's learned, I can't try that anymore. You saw what happened to Carson Wentz. It doesn't pay long-term to keep trying to run for first downs. And he has learned that because the other thing about Jay Cutler is he's a tough guy. You look at the years that he led the NFL in sacks taken. He got the you-know-what kicked out of him in Chicago a couple of times, and you never heard one word about he's weak or soft or can't take the beating. Nope, he'll take it. He'll keep on jumping right up and throwing.
For the better part of his career, he was paid as a franchise quarterback, and he did not meet those expectations. That's it. And if you saw him last night, you're very disappointed because you see what he could have been. He offered you a glimpse of what should have been. But at the end of the day, Skip, you've covered this as long as you've covered sports. There's always, be it basketball, baseball, football, whatever it is, there's always that one guy. Say, man, if he'd have just got it, he was so special. He could have really been.
But usually that guy lasted 1 or 2 years, and this guy is in his 12th year, and you're predicting year 13, right?
Because you know what?
And I assume he has a job here at Fox waiting for him if he wants to take it. I don't know that for a fact.
We've seen these NFL teams pull guys out that have been retired for 5 years. You don't think they were going to pull Jay Cutler out of retirement after 6 months? And guess what? They'll pull more guys. Because when you look at him, I mean, he's 6'3", 220 pounds. He found out he had type 2 diabetes. He got that under control, so he got his body under control. You look at him, you're like, wow, there's nothing he can't do. He can throw on the move. He can throw from the pocket. As you mentioned, he's tough, but he left you wanting so much more, Skip. And that's what's sad about Jay Cutler's career.
Okay, so if you, like the Denver Broncos right now, what's the big problem? You've got 3 quarterbacks and you have none.
No.
Right? You don't like any of them.
They have 3 guys that play the quarterback position.
That is correct. And I can show you, we don't have time to go into it, I can show you 5 or 6 other teams. They just don't have a quarterback.
No.
They got a football team, but they don't have a quarterback.
Correct.
So it's hard to find even a Jay Cutler for all of his flaws, all of his negatives, all the perceived loser's mentality. Man, he can still play quarterback at a really high level.
But here's the thing, Skip. Do you want to win games or you want to win championships? Because Jay Cutler can win you a few games. You're not winning a championship with him. Now, the Broncos, there are certain teams, the Steelers, and all these. They're like 10, 12 teams that they don't go into the season hoping to win 8 games. They go into the season trying to have Commissioner Goodell hand them that Lombardi. That's what they go in. I don't believe Jay Cutler. I've seen enough tape. I've seen enough games. I just don't believe Jay Cutler can deliver that. Can he deliver you a few wins? Absolutely. Can he show you signs throwing for 300?
The problem with your theory is there are only 5 top 5 quarterbacks, right? There aren't 10 top 5 quarterbacks. There are 5.
But I still believe that Andrew Luck, given the right supporting cast, can take a team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, I'll buy that. Except I can show you that Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl and you won with Trent Dilfer.
That was a different era, Skip. They don't allow you to play the rules like that. You could knock people out of the game. You could injure someone's quarterback. You could get really, really physical with receivers and tight ends. They don't allow that type of football now. Now moving forward, if you look at it, you have to have that guy. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that wins a Super Bowl moving forward would go to the Hall of Fame, but you're going to need that guy to make the 1 to 2 throws, especially in an impact moment that's going to win you the game. Now, they could have iced this game. Remember, he was on the move, and he threw the ball, and the guy rolling to his right, and he threw it behind him. The game could have been over there. Those are the type of games that once you get into the playoffs or even as you first round, second round, championship, Super Bowl, those are the plays that will lose you a game as opposed to winning it for you.
Okay, but he threw that deep ball to that Texas Tech kid, that Grant kid. He hit him right on the fingertips. And that's, as John Gruden immediately said, dagger, right? There's the dagger throw. So he made it on Monday Night Football. And it was it was the best throw of the whole game by either quarterback.
You see what I'm saying, Joey? Now he just keep giving me more ammunition. I know what Jay Cutler can do. Drop the dime from 55 yards. Because they tell you to throw the ball. Skip, Mike used to tell John, I wanted 42 and 4. 42 yards deep, 4 yards from the sideline. Jay Cutler dropped it down perfect. Like he dropped it out of a chimney.
He did.
You know, Santa Claus was right around the corner. He coming down the chimney. That's how Jay Cutler dropped it down. And he dropped it. Makes me upset because I know he can do that. But I haven't seen enough of that. I've seen more of the pick sixes going the other way. The scoop and scoop, the ball coming out.
Well,
sorry, Skip.
Not last night. Last night he was
Joy, we got him there with Joy.
Last night he was big play Jay.
Joy, we got him there with Joy.
You like it?
We got him, Joy.
Not who?
Oh, Dolphins. I was the Dolphins last night.
Oh, now you're with the Dolphins. I can't keep track.
I'm back. Who
you on the bandwagon?
Who y'all play next week? I'm with that team. I'm against your team. That's what I'm against.
Are we starting to see the beginning of the end for Tom Brady? We'll discuss that next.
And I won't back down.